Hey guys, what is up? It is your friendly neighbor who's here back again with a Magic the Gathering video, I guess. This one's going to be pretty cool. We're talking about this new card that got spoiled in Magic Origins, which is going to be the final core set for Magic the Gathering for the foreseeable future, that is. I have my doubts that it'll be the actual final core set, but we'll have to see. So, this card, on the surface, looks pretty insane. And I'm of the opinion that even once you dig deeper, it is still insane. And I'm going to try and prove that to you with a deck that I have theory crafted together in about 30 minutes tops that could be playing this card. And it'll only be around for about 2 months, but it has potential to be very good. And the reason it's only going to be around for 2 months is that's about the time frame that all of these new cards plus Theros plus M15 will all be in standard together. So it will rotate out once Battle for Zendikar comes out, unless a good number of these cards are still in Magic Origins, but we'll see. So hopefully you've read this card. It is basically Time Twister with the downside that if it's your turn, you have to end the turn immediately. So you can't continue on with the whole, having a turn stuff. But this is the deck. That's a bit small, isn't it? Let me bump up the font size if it doesn't freeze on me. Okay. So here we go. This is the deck. It is more or less based on the ensoul artifact Sly that has actually been around a while but hasn't really done much in the way of like tournaments and stuff. But here's what we got. Mana base might need some work. It's probably like 2 temple, 2 island would probably be better. Tap lands are not really what you want to be doing in this deck, but it is a duel, so it does help with the mana fixing. But we have 4 Days Undoing, 4 ensoul artifact, 4 monastery swiftspear, 4 shrapnel blast, 4 stoke the flames, 2 ghostfire blade, 2 rouse the mob, 3 springleaf drum, 4 stubborn denial, 4 Titan Strength, 3 Wild Slash, 4 Ornithopter. Now, what this deck is basically trying to do is kill your opponent before they can do anything. And the way it tries to do that is with this card, Ensoul Artifact, which is a 2 mana, 1 and a blue enchantment. You enchant an artifact, and it is a 5/5, as long as Ensoul Artifact, of course, is attached to it. So you can slap it on your drums, you can slap it on your Ghostfire Blade, you can slap it on your Ornithopter, which will make it a 5/5 with flying, or you can slap it on darksteel Citadel, which will make it indestructible. All of these are very good places to put Ensoul Artifact, and it turns them into 5/5s as early as turn 2, which is insane, mind you. And so basically, after you do that, you attack your opponent. Shrapnel Blast is a 1 red instant, I believe, that you have to sacrifice an artifact as an additional cost, but it deals 5 damage to a creature or player. So a lot of times you're just going to burn your opponent out real fast. Now, what is Days Undoing doing in this deck? The goal of the Days Undoing is that it's just going to be Wheel of Fortune, right, in this deck. And the important thing to note is that along with Days Undoing, we have a few instants, which I'm going to double check on Shrapnel Blast. I'm fairly certain it is, but now I'm starting to doubt myself. It is instant. Okay, so even though Days Undoing ends your turn when you cast it, what it does allow you to do is refill your hand and use Stoke the Flames, Shrapnel Blasts, Rouse the Mobs, Stubborn Denials, Titan Strengths, Wild Slashes. Obviously, Titan Strength and Rouse the Mobs are not very exciting at instant speed on your opponent's turn, but the option is available. And the rest of the cards are still, they're burn spells. You have 11 instant speed burn spells. And then it's very easy to continue like casting your entire hand, just dumping your hand on the table quickly, because you have drums and everything in the deck costs 2 or less mana aside from Days Undoing. Let's see. So Ghostfire Blade's 1. I guess this is 4, but it has Convoke, so you're never going to be casting it for 4 mana. And if you are, that's not even the worst case scenario anyway. So 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, plus Strive for 3, 1, 4 with convoke, 2, 1, 3, 2, right? So you can continually dump your hand a lot, and Days Undoing will just allow you to, Wheel of Fortune. You're allowing yourself to just draw more action. And I think that that's a very important aspect of the card, is that you're not going to be playing it in a deck that wants to trade cards with your opponent. You're playing it in a deck that wants to throw cards at your opponent's life total, right? That's the main goal in a deck that plays Days Undoing, because you can't, if you're playing a super grindy game, right, you're like, say you're playing Siege Rhinos. Why would you play Siege Rhinos in a deck that has a blue? I don't know. But if you're playing a deck with Siege Rhinos, you do not want your opponent to draw 7 cards, right? That is not your goal. However, if you're playing a deck that spends, almost all of its cards, like, how many cards are we spending just throwing them at the opponent's face? A lot. There's a lot. A lot of these cards are just going to be thrown at your opponent's face, right? A lot faster than your opponent is going to throw cards at your face or use their cards to respond to your cards. And so just to put this into perspective, if you have a, let's say, turn 1, right, you go Ornithopter, Drum, Swiftspear, something like that. I guess that's the only order you can really do it in. And then you attack with Swiftspear. That was turn 1. And then on turn 2, if you want to, you can cast Days Undoing. If you're on the play, your opponent now has to just have a 7, they lose 7 cards, right? And then they gain 7. However, those 7 cannot be mulliganed, so you've essentially kind of locked your opponent into a potentially bad mulligan. You generally don't want to do that, but the option is available, if you want to. If they like snapped Cap to 7 and you're concerned or whatever, if you have a read on them, that's a play you can do. You probably shouldn't, but you can, right? And if you don't want to do Days Undoing on turn 2, that's cool too. And obviously you don't get the value out of Days Undoing triggering prowess on Monastery Swiftspear, but the main reason Swiftspear is there is just because he is, or she is, one of the best low drop beat sticks for a deck that just wants to get your opponent's life total to 0, right? It's a 1 mana 1/2 haste prowess. That's all it is, right? So you're playing it on turn 1 and getting in your swing as if it were a raging goblin. And then on turn 2, you can do a multitude of things, right? You could even just Titan Strength, bash for 5 and get the scry, and then say go, right? Or if your opponent, like, I'm trying to think of ways that Stubborn Denial matters. Like if your opponent tries to remove, you can just Stubborn Denial their removal spell, right? Like there's a lot of play to this deck potentially. And then obviously Rouse the Mob I only have in here because the creatures that we are attacking with do fall under the kind of the problem of they can get either chump blocked or just blocked. For example, Swiftspear. Swiftspear's mortal enemy is quite often Caryatid, which is a 2 mana 0/3 hexproof that taps, with Defender of course, that taps for any color of mana. That card likes to block Swiftspear all day, every day, and Rouse the Mob allows you to not only get 1 point of damage in, because it pumps the Swiftspear up to a 4 power, but it also kills the Caryatid, which will stop the opponent's ramp. So Rouse the Mob is obviously not a 4 of, because we don't actually have that many creatures. In fact, we have 8, without the ensoul artifacts, of course. So it's not exactly a very common play to Rouse the Mob, but it's there because sometimes you want to just do it. And sometimes Rouse the Mob could just be shock, right? 1 mana, 2 extra damage, right? So here's the deck. Tell me what you think. I think that this is a pretty good shell for it. I think the blue-red kind of burn sly sort of a shell is probably going to be the home for Days Undoing in Standard. And I think the card will probably get banned in Modern fairly early on. I can't imagine this card being a very fair card as people begin to brew with it. So, again, tell me what you think. Tell me if you have a better idea. Blah de blah. Here's my take. I might be playing this when Origins comes out. We'll have to see. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.